Hi once again. Thank you for coming back to A's for Addict. I finished off the last book speaking about being with my wife and having our child, and you know how hard it was being an ex-addict, being an addict in recovery, and starting this new life with somebody that you feel so much for, and having all the responsibilities that you haven't had for 20 years. So what we should talk about, or what I'd like to talk about, is just saying that, going through recovery, it is not the easiest thing, which I'm sure everybody realizes. Going through recovery can be extremely hard. You can be faced with extreme challenges. And I believe that the way through these challenges is to keep looking forward and keep imagining or seeing what you saw your life as when you were a young child. Before you started your run with addiction, before you started growing up into this fast-paced world where everything was shiny and new and you needed to try everything, before all of that, when you were still a small child and somebody asked you, what do you want to be when you grow up? Or you looked at your parents and you thought about what you could do one day when you're big. That is what you need to see yourself as while you're going through recovery. See that person in the future, the person that you wanted to be when you were a child. It's not the easiest thing to do. As I said earlier in other books, I've written poems, and one of the poems that I wrote was called The Man in the Mirror. I don't remember the words of it exactly, but I know the essence of the poem was about a guy looking in a mirror and wondering where that small child was that used to look back at him, and through looking at his reflection, remembering all the joy and the wonderful moments that he had as a child. And then in retrospect, this child looking at the adult, wondering what had become of him. Why had his life turned out so different and not the way that he expected it to? So recovery can be extremely difficult for us. Any addict that's been through the road of recovery and relapsed and tried again and relapsed and failed again knows just how difficult this is, and knows that giving up, quitting, sometimes seems like such a easier option. Well, it obviously is an easier option, but it just seems like it's the best way, because sometimes it really looks as if we won't make it. It even looks that way to us. So sitting down and really thinking about it, I know exactly what my family and what close friends must have thought. They must have really not believed that I could have made it. I didn't believe it in the beginning. I didn't believe I could. It's only once I met my wife and I started becoming more responsible and life started changing a little bit for me, that I started to see, no man, recovery is really possible. I can do this. I have got it in me. I am strong enough. I will be able to make this my life. I will be able to succeed. And thinking back, having those first thoughts that maybe I can just be somebody. Maybe I can just be this decent guy. I can be a father and a husband. It is an amazing feeling to have, coming from addiction into a brand new life, because that's what it is. You're no longer that person that was using. You're now brand new. And now during this time, I'll move on with the book. During this time that I was coming clean and working on my recovery, things started to slowly fall in place. Like I say, I met my wife. That was one of the first. Well, I got my job. That was the first thing. Secondly, then I met my wife. We had a child, and I had been staying clean. I stopped socializing for one. We never used to go to people. We never used to go out and drink, or I must say we really stopped socializing. I'm not sure how my wife felt about it at the time, but she didn't seem to mind. She was young, so I'm sure she feels that she missed out on a lot, which I regret, but I think in the long run it's paid off. we're quite happy at the moment. Things have been going really well, and that's all due to her allowing me to have my recovery the way I did, by not pushing socializing and going out and partying and being with that type of crowds, because the truth is I can't. It's one thing going to a close friend or a close family member and they're having a couple of beers. That's one thing. An addict that's been clean 2 years plus can probably still deal with it. But the heavier type of partying and things that I used to do, that all came to an end. I knew for a fact that I could not do it. And any addict listening there that's struggling with their recovery or planning on going into recovery, understand that. Know that unfortunately those type of ties that you had, you have to break. Those chains that connected you to partying and the nightlife and that type of element, those chains need to be broken, and you need to stay away from it, because as quick as they're broken, they can just as quickly be put back on your wrists and tie you down. So don't ever get too comfortable with your recovery. Don't think that now you can handle anything that comes your way, because the truth is that you can't. And it doesn't matter who's listening, whichever qualification you might have. I dare you to come back to me and tell me I'm wrong. We cannot live in those situations. We will not manage. Maybe the first night we'll get through, but all that's going to happen is build our confidence to think we can now do it. And after a couple of times, that is what happened. After a couple of times, you'll end up relapsing. So I was well aware of that, and I stayed out of those situations. So what a lot of my family might not know is that, this was all conscious decisions. Getting married was a conscious decision. I wanted to settle down. I wanted somebody important in my life. Not socializing was a conscious decision. I didn't want to put myself in those situations where I can fail. I know temptation. I know the pull of it. I know how strong it is, and I know in those situations how weak I can become. So I kept myself away from it. And by now, or if family, my brother, my sisters, if you are watching, please understand that I'm being dead serious. It was a conscious decision, and this is why in the beginning, being married, this is why I hardly saw any of you. This is why I stayed at home and turned down a lot of offers to come and visit. I didn't want to put myself in any type of situation where I might fail. And now I'm going further, as in saying, not the situation has been with yous, but like I said earlier, my triggers. One of my triggers is the areas. If I go back into certain parts of Johannesburg, it triggers memories, and it triggers ideas, and it triggers wants. So I made sure to keep myself well away from that, especially in the beginning of my recovery. As things went further and I became cleaner, it became easier, and I started knowing my limits. I still kept myself well aware of what I can and what I cannot do, but I started knowing my limits. The wonderful thing about this time that I'm talking about in my recovery is that this is when people started coming back into my life, especially family. I'll start off by talking about my brother. My brother was not the hardest on me, but he was the one that I seemed to think that he didn't understand addiction. My brother has got a will of iron. If he puts his mind to something, he'll do it. He decided to run the Comrades 1 year, the next year he ran it. He decided to be a lawyer, a couple of years later he was. He wanted to open a business, he made it a success. He wanted to open a law firm, he made it a success. He wanted a beautiful big house, he got it, and he made it a success. So my brother is extremely strong-willed, and what he sets his mind to, he does. And I know in the beginning of my addiction and in the beginning of my dark path that I took, my brother never understood, because I distinctly remember him even saying to me that it's willpower. You just need the will to stop, and you can. I don't know if he still believes that. I think maybe after all the years I've seen the amount of times I've failed, and the reasons I was given to come clean, which were huge, and yet I still failed at it, should show him that it wasn't as simply as me just saying, that's the wrong thing, this is the right thing, I'm going to stop now. I was riddled, let me say, with this disease. It had penetrated every part of my being, from my head to my toes, from my brain to my heart and to my soul. I was a walking definition of addiction. So I wasn't about to just have that will and come clean. So the point I was getting to is, out of all the people, he's one of the first ones that I started to realize has seen a difference in me. He was one of the first ones, even before my mom and my sister and my dad. He was one of the first ones that I realized that he's got this faith in me, that he knows that I'm going to make it. I don't know why he had so much faith in me. I don't know. I really don't know. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's not like that at all. But that is how I felt. And I absolutely love my brother very, very much, Gavin. I do. I appreciate you so much. I thank you so much for everything you've done for me. You've really taken care of me and been an outstanding big brother. And I really appreciate it. I just hope and I wish that other addicts and recovering addicts and other people in general, young guys in general, I just wish they had an older brother like you, because you've been absolutely amazing in my life. And as we're getting older, it's getting harder knowing that one day I'm going to be without you, because at the moment, even though we don't see each other that often, I still count on you. I count on you for so many things. So thank you. So yeah, people started coming back into my life. Gavin was the first. I don't know how it happened. I started speaking to my sister Deline, and things started getting so much better. I had in-laws that appreciated me. My mom and dad were speaking to me. Look, I could hear my mom's voice. She was always very worried. If I didn't answer my phone on time, or I didn't give her a call when I was supposed to, anything like that, there would be that what do you call it? That finger pointing that something is wrong, And look, it would hurt and would upset me, but also I knew exactly what place it was coming from, and I knew exactly who was the cause of it, this man over here. So I try to do better all the time. I try to keep in contact with her, and I try to follow the right path. So as we're talking about my recovery and my new life, I do want to add that it wasn't always all roses and butterflies. It really wasn't. There were times that things were really, really hard, and addicts can expect that. Life doesn't change because you've decided now to come clean and you've decided to go into recovery. Not everybody is going to praise you because of that. A lot of people are just going to say, well, it's about time. Other people are just going to say, yeah, but for how long are you going to be clean? There's going to be so many obstacles that you're going to face, and don't let it put you off, because all it's going to do in the long run is make you so much stronger. It really is. It's going to make you so much stronger. I can testify to that. I really can. So be ready for letdowns. Be ready for people not really accepting you back. Be ready for all the difficulty. No, go into it with the thought that this isn't going to be easy. But you know what? I handle addiction. I can handle this. Go into it with that thought that you can handle it, that you can take it on. It can't put you down, and if it does, all you're going to do is stand back up. I need you to do that. Now, I wanted to try to keep these videos to under 10 minutes, but this has already gone to 14, so I'm going to end it here, and I'll make the next one a bit shorter. A lot of people aren't really watching them through. I see. I really need you to watch them to be able to get an idea of my life and of an addict's life, so that if you ever cross paths with one, or maybe your child ends up being an addict, or just somebody looking for help or advice, you're better equipped to give it. Please share with everybody that you know that might need to hear the message. Please keep on watching the shorts as well. There's a lot of shorts out there with quick messages, mainly asking you to come and watch, but also with quick, wonderful insights that will be able to help you. So thanks again for taking the time and coming to watch. Please subscribe. Please share with people that need it. And Addicts in Recovery, stay focused, stay strong. I might not know you, but I do know that you can do it. I do know the type of soul and type of heart you got, and I do know that there's a better life out there for you. Thanks again for visiting. My name's Rodney. Cheers.